Yo, how's it going everybody? It's me, Arctic. Today's video we're going to be going over a complete build guide for Thoma. Now I'm basically going to be covering what his kit does, the best weapon choices for Thoma, and also the best artifact choices for Thoma, and giving you some little tips and tricks basically concerning his gameplay and how to optimize him in actual team comps. But if that sounds interesting to you, remember to subscribe. I make these types of videos quite regularly. And anyway, let's get back to the video. So basically, if you don't know what Thoma's kit is already, Thoma basically is like a pyro Xingqiu, except there are a few things that we know considering that he did have some trials in the current version of the game that we have right now. And basically, what those information is, well, I guess I can show it now since it's basically out in the game already in terms of actual in-game stuff. But basically, the main thing about Thoma is that his multipliers are actually a lot lower than Xingqiu's, and that's what a lot of people are kind of complaining about. And also his ults, it doesn't apply pyro fast enough to actually be like a reaction enabler, so you can't really use Thoma with Tartaglia at all, because Tartaglia is going to just apply Hydra way too fast, and Thoma is not going to be able to keep up and actually keep pyro on enemies. Using Thoma for is his reaction damage, which I think there's several options that we have that will actually work out with that. So basically I'm keeping those in mind when we're actually considering his final build guide right here. I'm going to keep this relatively short. There's a few options that stand out, one of those being Black Left Polearm, considering that is a very good for a high damaged output on any character. Let's see, Deathmatch is a pretty decent option, so you can be able to crit very constantly, and it also gives you that like attack percent boost. Is very nice. Dragon's Bane I think is going to be his best, considering that we know how his kit works overall. Gives you that elemental mastery a large amount, which is actually going to increase your actual damage reaction numbers, since he's actually going to be one doing the reaction damage. But it increases your damage against opponents affected by Hydra or Pyro by 20%. So this is honestly a pretty decent option to actually use with like a Tartaglia as your main DPS, something like that. And definitely I would recommend using this as Thoma's main best-in-slot weapon. Thoma's also really good with the catch, because it gives you that energy recharge. You can basically run a 4-piece emblem set on him, increases your elemental damage, burst damage by 16%, and your elemental burst crit rate by 6%. So basically you're going for ult damage, and I think the catch is a really solid option as well. Primordial Jadewing Spear is another good option just for that extra crit rate that you get as a sub, plus its base attack is very high, and you're going to be able to stack this up if you basically pop them on the field for a little bit. You get some of these extra like attack stacks. Spine I think is going to be a great option as well, just for its energy recharge and base stats, although I think the catch is probably going to be better if you are just using him primarily as a sub DPS. Staff of Thoma is very nice because it does factor in with his kit where he gets like extra damage on his ult based on your max HP. And so this is going to factor in very nicely with that as well. Engulfing Lightning is a very good option as well. It's going to give you a lot more attack and energy recharge over your base 100%, and you basically gain the extra 30% energy recharge in your elemental burst. So this is very good with emblem sets. Weapon Wavebreaker's Fin. This one's actually a pretty decent option on Thoma as well. It does give you that extra base attack up to 620, gives you a little bit of attack percent, but it basically increases your elemental burst damage based on the rest of the team's elemental burst cost, which is actually a pretty good ability right there. Artifact choices. Now basically what you're going to want to do with your Thoma is build him for his elemental burst damage, unless you're going the ultra sketch kind of DPS Thoma with like Bennett C6 or Chong Yun. Like honestly it could work actually pretty interestingly, but basically the only really good options for him is like maybe a 2-piece Wanderer's Troop, 2-piece Noblesse, something like that, if you aren't using like emblem set. But if you are using emblem set, basically you can just pop on an emblem set and stack as much energy recharge as you can on your Thoma, and that's going to give you up to that 75% damage boost on his ult, which is quite a bit. Tenacity 2-piece is also pretty good for that extra HP if you are wanting to balance out your build and shielding capabilities a little bit. Your Flames is a pretty alright 2-piece, but the 4-piece you're only going to be able to like get one of these stacks at all, and so like I would just stick with the 2-piece of this and like 2-piece Glad, something like that, and this is pretty much your best choices for that. And then in terms of actual party setup for your Thoma, pretty much you have to use him as like a actual reactor. Like, he's actually the one that's going to be doing the reactions. So pretty much I would use him with like characters like, I guess, Fischl, since like that's going to be doing that coordinated attacks. Raiden Shogun's a good option. You could use him with like a Xingqiu as well. Basically do a double sub DPS kind of, with something like that. Tartaglia is a good option considering that he's a very good main DPS. With Thoma as a sub DPS, getting the extra damage, it can work out, you know. You could also use him in a melt comp with like a Rosaria, something like that, or Kamisato Ayaka as your main DPS. I think that would actually work pretty nicely considering that basically Thoma would be melting, and since it's pyro on cryo, you're going to be getting that to double damage, and it could be actually pretty good. But other than that, that's basically it for build guide on Thoma. Let me know if you guys enjoyed the video in the comments section below. But anyway, it's been me, Arctic. I'll see you guys next time. Farewell.